Hey guys, it's Dr. Tom with EBM Fitness Solutions, and in this video we are going to discuss some deloading for the lumbar spine. Right? So basically taking some pressure and some stress off the low back. This is the way that I would suggest it. If you want to stretch the low back, this is how I would do it. In general, stretching the low back is a very tricky endeavor. In most cases, it actually makes things worse for reasons that I'll talk about at a later date. Stretching the hips and all that's great, but if you want to help the low back, deloading is great. Deloading can help to manage acute low back pain that has nerve compression as an origin, but as a chronic strategy, it is great for just helping to take some stress off of the low back. Basically what it does is it helps to open up, if you can see here, in between the vertebrae, you've got all these yellow nerves that are kind of popping out, right? And with faulty positions or faulty mechanics, those nerves can get compressed over time. So the deload allows us to take some stress off of the nerves, and it does also stretch the muscles, but because of the way we do the deload, which is brief holds, we don't hold it very long, we don't get some of the negative consequences that come from prolonged static stretches. So with the deload, short duration, 5 to 8 second holds, and then you want to slowly release the deload. So you kind of ramp up to the deload and you ramp back down. Nothing is quick, nothing is released or done quickly. It's very smooth, very controlled, and it should not increase your pain. If you do this and your pain spikes, then deloading does not work for you at this juncture in time. It doesn't work for everybody, but it's something you can try very easily to assess how the back responds to it. And even if you don't have acute back pain, this works great just in general. If you've been sitting for a while or up and your back feels a little tight, find a way to do it. I'll show you 3 different ways. You can do laying down, you can do seated, or you can do standing. So depending on where you are, what you have access to, try one of these and see if it takes some stress off your back and actually allows the back to feel better. So check out this deload video and let me know what you think. Before we get to the deload, I forgot to mention this. Relax the abdominal muscles when deloading. If you brace the abdominals, remember the abdominals' primary gig is to stabilize the low back. If you're bracing during deloading, nothing happens. Your body won't let the deload actually take place. So make sure that when you're doing the deloaded positions, whether it's laying down, seated, or standing, to relax the abdominals to let the deload occur. The seated lumbar deload obviously can be used in a seated position. So it's great if you sit at a desk or have been sitting for a while and maybe can't get up and move around but want to do something to take a little bit of stress off the back. So it's an easy thing to do. Same rules apply. It's a slow kind of ramp up to the deload, hold it 5, 8 seconds, and then slowly release it. This is a little different. Once we get into the seated and standing position, we don't want to just let it go quickly, because if you do kind of deload and you release quickly, it can kind of allow things to come back together quickly, which could then take something that's beneficial and irritate the low back. So what you want to do, from whatever you're sitting on, it's very easy to do. You're going to scoot a little bit towards the edge. You can probably do it if you're sitting back this way. It's just going to be a little bit easier if you do scoot forward first. So get a little bit closer to the edge. What you want to do is sit up nice and tall. Your hands are going to go on whatever you're sitting on. And then the goal here again is just to use the arms to, I'm going to lean forward and I'm just going to push a little bit this way. And then I'm going to slowly release it and I'm going to sit back. That was the deload right there. And it's just meant to take a little bit of stress and pressure off the low back. So if it's feeling tight because you've been sitting for a while, the best thing to do is get up and move around. But if you can't do that, this is a great option. It's just to set up here and get your hands in here, lean forward a little bit, and then push with the arms. So your butt might come up a tiny bit. You might be able to get like a piece of paper under there. You're not going to like them flying up in the air, right? So it's subtle, up, hold it 5 to 8 seconds, and then again, slowly release and sit back. Don't just kind of let it go and come kind of crashing back to the normal rested position, because that could take a movement that can be beneficial and then make it worse because of the quick nature at which you're doing it. When doing the standing deload, the only thing you need is a surface that you trust will hold your weight and not tip over or move around while you're doing the deloaded movement. This one probably is the most challenging one to do. It takes a little practice to get the hang of it, but once you get it, it will probably give you the greatest deload, the greatest decompression of all 3 positions. So the key is find your stable surface. Kitchen counters typically work really well. If the back of your couch is something you have access to with the way your house is set up, the back of a couch works really well also. I'm going to use the treatment table here, but the idea is, put your palms away from you this way, and I'm going to rest them on the table. And I'm going to get right up next to the table. The goal is, it's a very subtle motion. When I do the deload, it's not going to look like I actually moved anywhere. But what I'm doing is I'm shifting my weight from the legs onto my arms, and that creates that deloading traction kind of sensation in the low back. So this is exactly what it looks like. Hands here, my knees are bent slightly, and what I do is I'm thinking about if I was to bend my knees more, as if I was going to lower myself to the floor, I'm kind of doing that motion, but I'm taking up that slack with the arms. So as I bend my knees, I take up more of that slack with the arms, and I hold the position 5 to 8 seconds. And then when I'm done, again, we want to ramp down, so I shift the weight off the arms back onto my legs. I will typically stand up for a second before doing another set of it. So hands in position, bend the knees, bend, kind of take more weight off the legs, shift it onto the arms, and then slowly shift the weight back onto the legs from the arms. So everything with deloading is a ramp up and then a ramp back down. Nothing is done quick or jerky. It's very smooth, very controlled. Don't be surprised if you struggle with this one in the beginning. Most people don't get it right away, but the key is to get into position, and once the arms are engaged, try to relax. Do not tense the abs during deloading. That secures and stabilizes the low back. So if you do that, then the abs secure the spine, and it doesn't let it move. So try to relax through here as you get into your position. Okay, no bracing, try to relax, and expect this one to take a few times of you doing it before you actually feel anything. What you should feel is right along the spine, right midline over the spine, in the low back, you'll feel this kind of decompression, stretching feeling. It actually feels nice when you actually get it. So spend some time, practice, but remember, brief holds, 5 to 8 seconds. Don't get in there and hang out for 2 minutes. That defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do. But with this kind of deloading, you could repeat it as many times a day as you want. You could do it once in the morning, and here and here and here. You could 10 or 12 times throughout the day, but each one has to be brief.